Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder live show on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, the number one podcasting network in the world. This is Locked On Thunder, the only daily Thunder podcast out there, Monday through Friday, after every single game as well, and our 4 live streams a week, right now with Derek Parker on Mondays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central, as well as our squad show with Tyler Jones and Jeremy Lamb at 3:30 p.m. Central on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you're going to have 2 live streams today. Derek, how you doing today as the Thunder are 15-1?
I'm doing good. I'm glad the show could start on time. We've got a question here. Rylan and Derek, how you doing? I'm doing good. I would imagine Rylan's doing good. He was nearly late to the show so he could grab his always needed coffee. So yeah, I'm glad you could make it, Rylan, to your own show.
Yeah, listen, we were under fire a little bit. I had to have you do the outline today while I had shuffled some things around. But you know what? This is a team effort, Derek. So without you, I couldn't have gotten my coffee. Without you being able to do the outline yourself, I wouldn't have been able to get my coffee. But I did, and I'm ready to go.
Happy to help. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Derek, I'm glad that you're here because, first of all, love talking ball with you. Second of all, they played the Kings again. Like, what are we supposed to say about the Kings and the Pelicans? But we're going to try. What's your biggest takeaway from the Pelicans-Kings games?
Yeah, we'll get into it next week, but I was wrong. I picked the Kings as my most boring game, and my first takeaway is that the Kings played pretty well, and they actually played pretty well in 2 of the 3 early season games that they've played against the Thunder. It didn't matter, ultimately. The Thunder still won by 14. Both of these teams are in the gutter right now. The Kings have 3 wins. The Pelicans, I believe, are still sitting at 2 wins. Not good basketball teams. The Thunder are very obviously better. They didn't even play phenomenally for huge stretches of both games, and they still come out at somewhere in the range of plus 30 through these 2 games. So, yeah, big takeaway was that the Kings played well, and it still wasn't enough because the Thunder are just that good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good call. I mean, the Kings have been more competitive than some of the other teams the Thunder have played, and that they've done it 2 or 3 times. I think that there's just also a level of, like, it's hard to beat any team 3 times in a row. It's also hard to, like, beat them down 3 times in a row in such a short time period like this, where you just gain some familiarity, some confidence. But yeah, the situation here with the Kings, it was a good blowout win for Oklahoma City. My biggest takeaway was all about SGA. Like Derek, it is a crime. It is a crime that he only got 3 assists last night. Like, that guy was dealing. Like, that guy was in control of the offense, setting up open looks, and the guys just could not cash it in for him. And that has been a thing that has happened throughout this season at times. Like, I think that his assist numbers, of course, should be way up from where they are right now, because the Thunder had gone through that such brutal cold streak shooting the ball in the first month of the season. Last night, that cold streak continued. It re-showed its head, and he made some great passes, but never got it to be assists. Nonetheless, though, I think that he's setting this team up for such great success in the future with how they can handle their half-court offense now.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is top 15 in the NBA in potential assist, which is pretty good given his caliber of passing. I mean, you look at the top guys. This is per game, so LeBron James last night would be number 1 at 20. Nikola Jokic is up here. Cade Cunningham, Josh Giddey is number 4. 15 relative to the passer that Shai is really, really good. I think it speaks to the passing leap that we have talked about on this show before, and that he's making not only these more ludicrous passes, like the behind the back bounce passes and transition, things like that, but he's also just making clearer reads in general. So he's had a great passing season. My second takeaway is with you, the chat, not actually you, but the fans were not happy with the 14-point win over the Kings, it seemed. And even at times in the Pels game, you and I had a little talk on Twitter. It wasn't a necessarily great place. And I'm sure everybody here was just mighty positive, but I just want to put into perspective that, again, a 14-point win for the third time over a team, and you go and beat up on the Pels again. I believe that was a 17-point win. This is such a luxury for this team. Like, the Clippers would be killing for a 14-point win right now. They're like 4-11 or 5-10, whatever they are. So don't be upset with any 14-point win ever. Yeah, the Kings came back a little at the end. They played some good basketball in the middle of the game, but 14 points is a whole bunch in the grand scheme of things.
I agree. And I think that you also look at this of, like, one, how spoiled the fan base is that watches this team, expecting more than a double-digit win. Like, that's a little crazy. And it just is actually crazy in the sense of appreciating, like, how good that this team is, that they've set that standard, that they're going to be doing that. But two, this team got a 14-point win on a night where they could not stop turning the ball over and they could not hit threes. Yep. And they still won by 14. Like, forget about, like, the fact that, like, bad teams would love to have a double-digit win. Any team would be like, how in the world did we win by double digits against a Kings team that is not the worst in the league, although it's not a good team by any means. And we didn't shoot the ball well at all, and we didn't quit turning the ball over. Like, we had more turnovers in this game than we ever had before, 16 in this game. But it's crazy. It's crazy, like, how good this team is, and you've got to really appreciate it. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Just one more thing on that, too. It would be different if the Thunder were still very unproven. Like, if they were winning all these games, but they had maybe lost last year in the playoffs and the shooting really did rear its head in, like, a major way, and they go down to Denver or down to Indiana. They still won. So to see them play their brand of basketball fresh off a championship and still complain about a 14-point win feels silly to me. And again, I just want to put it in perspective. 29 other teams would take a 14-point win, and this Thunder team is going to take the 14-point win every single day of the week. So sure, you can critique. I'm not above general critique at all. We'll get into that as we have all season, but I mean, just a little overblown in terms of they just beat up on two teams twice in a row, and the fans were a little shaky about it.
The line coming into that game was 18.5.
Yeah.
And if you would have said before the game that the Thunder were going to have 16 turnovers and shoot 26% from three, you wouldn't think that they'd come close to covering that line. Right. And there was 14 that they won by, as opposed to 18.5, as opposed to, of course, 19 to get the cover. Like, it was a game in which the Thunder once got up by 18 points, and they were able to put it on ice, and they were able to get a blowout win. It was a great win for OKC to go 15-1. I mean, this is a start that is only outdone by the Warriors 16-0. So it is what it is. But my number 2 takeaway, I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren, because he just, like, last night, I thought perfectly illustrated what we've been talking about on this live show all season. He goes 1 for 5 from 3, but still shoots 60% from the floor and still scores 20 points because he gets 6 dunks. He's able to be a roller, a cutter. He's in the mid-range doing that Dirk fadeaway. Like, he was just awesome inside the arc. And that's where you gain a lot of encouragement about Chet. And I was thinking about this, Derek, yesterday. Like the concerns about, and again, concerns from a corner that like, probably doesn't understand this Thunder team a whole lot, but the concerns about like, well, what are they going to look like whenever J-Dub comes back? Is it going to throw off their rhythm? Like, how is Chet going to still score and J-Dub comes back? If you really break down how Chet is scoring, there are some of this, but it's not the majority of his shot diet. It's not a majority of his shot diet being isolation. It's a lot of just finishing plays. It's a lot of just rolling to the rim, cutting. It's a lot of, hey, we found him in the paint. He turns around and hits a mid-range jumper. It's a lot of that, which is going to be consistent with whenever J-Dub is back. And so, like, I think that his aggression to score the ball when he gets it thrown to him, that's going to have an uptick still in his shot attempts once J-Dub is back, from where they used to be the last 2 seasons. And he's been on fire. 5 of the last 6 games scoring 20 or more points. And last night he did it inside the arc. So being not as dependent on the 3-point shooting this season has been really encouraging, while also still being a really good 3-point shooter.
Yep. Mark Daigneault talked about that in the post game last night of he's getting everything within the flow of the offense. He's not doing anything that is like that often self-created. The Thunder aren't drawing plays up for him, which is still unbelievable considering that you could, and it would probably be successful, but they don't need to because he's that good. So yeah, Chet's been unreal offensively. I thought he had a really, really good defensive game. It didn't show up in the box score necessarily, but he was deterring absolutely everything from centers to guards. Really, really good night for him overall. Last takeaway, and I told you that we would, of course, give some general critiques. I do think that the Thunder need to tighten up ahead of the Portland and Timberwolves back-to-back games, not back-to-back nights, but they play those teams back-to-back. The Jazz first. I think the Jazz, I think that game will offer a pretty good opportunity to tighten up because I don't think you're going to be able to have the turnovers that they did against Sacramento, the poor shooting that they had against Sacramento, and go out and beat both of those teams. Portland, as we know, has already beaten the Thunder. They're going to be hungry to retain that as, hey, we beat the champs twice now. And then Minnesota obviously lost in the Western Conference Finals last year. They've got Anthony Edwards back. They're a good basketball team. Are they better tactically than the Thunder? No. Could they absolutely go and win a regular season game against this Thunder team? 100%. So I do think the Thunder are going to have to be sharp, and I think they're probably going to need to sharpen up a little bit during the Utah game.
Yeah, they are going to have to be, I think they're going to have to play way better than they played last night to beat Portland and in particular Minnesota, like being the bigger threat. I think that you could get away with a little bit of sloppiness against Portland, but not a lot of it. And you for sure need to tighten up against Minnesota in the NBA Cup environment. So I think that those games will like naturally test their mettle a little bit, naturally have more energy to them than like a Sacramento game or a New Orleans game. Like even against New Orleans, that second quarter, they kind of let things slip. And that kind of leads into my number 3 is that like against New Orleans, they got out to a 49-point first quarter, and they were just utterly crushing the New Orleans Pelicans. Second quarter, New Orleans made a rally back a little bit to kind of get into it, but they were also never going to win that game. And the Thunder go wire to wire for the win. Last night, the Thunder start out slow. They had 8 lead changes in the first quarter, and then the Thunder keep them at arm's length the rest of the way. Eventually, get up by 18 points. I'm just looking at like J-Dub and Wiggins, and it's like those two guys, whenever they come back, like won't let stuff like that happen because you just have extra bodies. You're like last night, whenever you couldn't hit shots, you couldn't stop turning the ball over. If you had J-Dub's presence, if you had Aaron Wiggins knocking down shots off the bench, a bench last night that scored just a few points, and the only player who had more than a bucket last night off the bench was AJ Mitchell. So it's like if you had Wiggins off the bench, like that changes some things in the middle of those games in the second quarter that could have fixed some problems, so to say. And it's just the nature of like when this team is back, they just complement one another so well that I still think, as crazy as it sounds, Derek, like they're the best net rating in the league, they're the best defense in the league. I still think that they're going to be better whenever they have those two guys back.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I think just the offensive pressure that Jalen Williams is going to take off people in general, like just him being able to score at all 3 levels, play with the energy that he does, which is big because a lot of this Thunder team does play with energy, but he is a guy who truly is constantly looking to get up and go. He wants the voracious dunks down low. Like he's a guy that's going to give you what you need on a night-to-night basis. He alone is going to galvanize that Thunder starting lineup and certain configurations, whether it's next to AJ Mitchell, Hartenstein, whoever. And then, yeah, Aaron Wiggins, we'll touch on him later in the episode, but he was having a real nice start to the season before the injury. So when they get both of those guys back, yeah, I would expect them to be better.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with J-Dub's energy. Like, that's another thing that I think that gets glossed over because he's done so many more great things than just energy at this point. He's a number 2 scoring option. He's an all-NBA player, all-defensive player. But last night when the game got a little sluggish, when the game got a little slow, like Caruso was the only guy who came in and really upped the intensity. With J-Dub, he's just such a natural energy giver to his team, whether he's blocking shots, getting steals and going coast to coast, getting an and one. Like, he does so many things where he's yelling into the crowd. Like, he leads the Thunder and yells into the crowd, and that gets the crowd into it. That gets his teammates into it. Like, he just does these energizer things that if he was Alex Caruso's like level of player, that's all we'd be talking about with J-Dub's game. But because he's like a all-star, all-NBA, all-defensive team, we kind of forget like how much that he really is a heart and soul of their intensity. And not having that and still being 15-1, it's remarkable. And still doing it against, honestly, it's remarkable that they're doing this against bad teams as well, because it's hard to get up for these games. And J-Dub was somebody like Caruso who can get up for any game and can make any game feel big with the impact that he makes on the court. So I'm ready to see him play whenever that may be. Coming up, Derek, let's take a little gander at our preseason predictions, both Thunder and NBA wide, and see where we're trending to be right, where we're trending to be wrong, and then hand out some technical fouls. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. This is our live show with Derek Parker every Monday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time. You can find both of us at the OKC Dream Team. You can find Derek Parker at his YouTube channel, Derek-Parker, covering the draft in depth better than anybody. And you can find both of us at thunderonsi.com. Wrote about Lou Dort this morning. He's been fantastic the last 2 nights. I want to give a shout out to him, getting back into a rhythm with 4 threes in each of the last 2 games. But Derek, we had a thought of what to do with this middle segment here throughout the last 24 hours. And you had the idea to see where we've been right and wrong about this team and the NBA at large since the preseason. We usually do this on a week-to-week basis, but I think that it's good to look back and see where we were right, where we were wrong. And I want to start with you. Where do you feel the best about your predictions right now? Where do you think that you're trending to be right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is where I feel the best, or I wouldn't even say that I'm right so far, but I did want to give an update. I did pick Shea to win MVP. You picked Jokic. I thought that was a really good pick, as everyone across the league does. He's one of the best players in the world, but just a small update on the Shea MVP case, which I do still feel good about. 32 points per game, 6.5 assists per game. That's up 5 rebounds, 53% shooting. He has not played a ton of fourth quarters. He played his 6th last night, I believe, maybe 7th of the entire season, which is absurd to say, 16 games in. But the biggest thing is that the Thunder are on currently 77 win pace. And are his stats as good as Jokic's, as good as Luka's right now? Accounting for the fourth quarters, no, they're not. Is he going to be denied if the Thunder truly do stay on this absolutely historic win pace? I don't believe so. Steph Curry won it in their season. Michael Jordan won it in their season. And again, I don't want to push that narrative onto the Thunder that they're going to push for this massive win total and that they're going to gun for this record and that they massively care about it or anything. But as of right now, they are on pace to do so, to at least contend for it. Shea is having yet another MVP type season. So did want to give the update. I still feel good about it. I think they're going to go win around 70 games. I think Shea is going to do what he did last year. And I think a good amount of the voters are probably going to look to him again.
Yeah. And, again, this is one of the, like, we'll have some where we're already like 100% right or 100% wrong. And we'll have some where it's like, I still feel good about this take. This kind of falls into that category of still feeling good about the take. And I agree with you, because my whole point about the MVP race, whenever we were talking about this in the preseason, was just how narrative based that it is. Mm-hmm. Well, and what would Shea's narrative be? Like, would they have a storyline beyond just him being consistently great that could get him over the hump when it comes to competing with these guys for the MVP award? Like it or not, that's how the voters vote on this thing. And now he has his storyline. Like, not only is he getting better, like he's a better playmaker, which is helping his team get better. Not only is he still scoring at an efficient clip, not only is he still gonna, I think at the end of the day, he's gonna lead the league in scoring. Once you get through this slog of, like, once he plays, for example, 2 straight weeks of having to play the fourth quarter instead of like 3 straight weeks of not playing fourth quarters. Once he gets into that stretch, he's going to lead the league in scoring, I think. And he's going to do it very efficiently. But to start this way, like realistically right now, they're on a 77-win pace, like you said. They won 68 games last year, and they didn't try to win 68 games. They just let that happen to them organically, winning 68 games. Right now, it's hard to bet against them winning a flat 70 at least, 2 more wins than last year because of the way that they've started better than they started last year and better than they've ever started before at 15-1. And they've done this quarter of the season without their number 2 option and without key contributors, like without Wiggins for multiple games, Dort for multiple games, Caruso, Chet for multiple games, Isaiah Joe for multiple games. He's been the constant. He's been the guy that's always been there. And he's been the guy who's been leading this team. And if they can hit, that 70+ mark, then he has his narrative. He has his storyline. And if they get their 3rd straight number 1 seed in the West, which if you dig into that, in the Western Conference in particular, and really in either conference, but especially in the West, very hard to get 3 straight number 1 seeds in the Western Conference. And if he does that, which he's on track to do, then you have that external force that helps you in this discussion on top of the individual merit. Like individually, his stats warranted MVP last year. His stats would have warranted MVP the year before. His stats will warrant MVP this season. But you've got to have that extra boost to your case, and he's gotten it with this start to the season. So I agree. You should not shy away from that take that you had in the preseason of Shea winning MVP. A take that I already think that I'm right on. I'm already victory lapping. I'm not even saying I'm on track to be right. Was AJ Mitchell in the top 8 of this rotation come the end of the year. And he's been stellar. Of course, he's had his role, expanded because of all the injuries this team has dealt with. But you look at how his role's expanded, it's still going to stay this way whenever they do get healthy. Like he's still going to be a focal point of what they do when they get healthy. And what we've envisioned from AJ this summer has came to life now. And I think that his life actually gets easier. Perhaps his individual numbers do dip when this team is healthy, but the quality of play, I think it's easier once this team is healthy for AJ Mitchell. So I'm ready to say that I was right on a top 8 player in this rotation.
I'll do you one better. I'll put you on the spot again. What do you think he's at in the rotation now? Because we've seen him start, we've seen him close games, and obviously Jalen Williams and co aren't back yet, but I think there's a case to be made that he's higher than 8, and he might even be higher than some other numbers that are pretty high up there.
I would say he's like the 6th man of this team. I really would. Like I think that I think that this can get a little bit tricky, right, in the playoffs when it's more so about matchups and game flow. Where like perhaps they start out sluggish defensively, and you just want to get Caruso in there. Like Caruso is a guy who can match up with anybody on the floor. So whoever has the hot hand, you can just stick Caruso on him. To the fact, and I hate the catch-all term if he can guard 1 through 5 in general. But it just so happens that the Thunder have 2 of those guys who can literally guard 1 through 5. And you saw him defend Jokic, Caruso defend Jokic in the playoffs last year. Like any game in the playoffs where someone gets hot to start, you can just throw Caruso in there right away if you wanted to. But I think that in general, like if you could just have the game flow the exact way you wanted it to, AJ's your 6th man, and he's the guy that you bring in to help the offense move. He's a defensive playmaker right now. Let's see if that trend continues. So I think that he could be the 6th man of this team. And at the time, Derek, if you remember, like 8 was bold of just saying like, on the deepest, most talented team in the roster in the league, he's going to be a top 8 player. I think he's going to nestle in at that 6th spot.
Yeah, I don't disagree. My brain still leans defense. I think Caruso is extremely proven. I'm always going to be a Case and Wallace guy. I just think he's that talented. But I think there's certainly a case to be made that when you need offense and you need a guy that can break down that first line of defense at any given point, I think AJ Mitchell slots in great. He's not too shabby at defense himself. So I agree. Phenomenal take, Rylan. You've earned your victory lap. Next up is my Benedict Mathurin take. I said I thought he would be most improved. He has only played 4 games. I want to give that caveat. But in those 4 games, 27.8 points per game, 7 rebounds. He's shooting 51, 41, 80 right now. He's going to have to continue to play games now because he's already missed a handful, and that 65 game mark is going to be tough to reach having already missed some games. But I really think somewhere around this is doable for him. Is it going to be 28 points per game? Probably not, but I think he could average anywhere from 22 to 25. And I think that's going to be good enough for MVP. So I still feel really good about this pick as well.
I'm going to go with my 76ers. My 76ers, not as great in the last 10 as they were in the first 10, but they're still sitting at 8-6. And they are bouncing back from where they were a year ago, where they got the number 3 overall pick a year ago. And they're far and away. The Sixers are closer to the 13-2 Pistons than they are to your 4-11 Charlotte Hornets. So I think that I have won that bet. I think that the Sixers have bounced back, and I think that the Sixers will continue to ascend as we go through this season.
Yeah, I straight up disagree with this. I think that they got off to a hot start.
Wow.
They're 3-6 in their last 9. VJ Edgecombe has taken a dip. Tyrese Maxey is no longer playing like an MVP. The Charlotte Hornets are bad, real bad right now. And there's still only a 4-game gap between these two teams. The Sixers are the 8 seed.
I mean,
I can't get behind this being a win for you. I just can't.
Okay. Perhaps it's not, of course, it's not a victory lap, but I still feel good of where I'm at compared to where you're at.
In relation to the Hornets take or overall?
Over in the sense of all I predicted with the Sixers was they were not going to be one of the worst teams in the league, which at the time, again, was looked upon as like, well, the Sixers could just fall off the cliff again. They're not going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They're going to be better than your Hornets, and they're going to make the postseason.
Okay. I think a lot of almost everybody picked that, though. The only difference is our bet with the Hornets. And I had the Sixers as a 7 seed as well.
And I feel great about the Sixers being better than your Hornets. There's a 4-game gap there. There's a 4.5-game gap from the Sixers to being the Pistons.
I can get there, but I think victory lapping the Sixers in general is premature because they have not been a good basketball team as of late. But I digress. I'm happy for you. I will more than likely be watching Elvis movies. They are your Sixers. We don't need to hear the song.
Here they come, Philadelphia. All right. Let me give you a non-Sixers one. Okay. I'm good with Josh Giddey, my Josh Giddey pick. I've been averaging a near triple-double and being an all-star. The all-star format helps. Like, of course, he's an international guy, so that'll help him out a little bit with the new format. But he's averaging, for his standards, an efficient near triple-double for this Bulls team that started out really hot, and of course now they're fading and they're kind of being more realistic toward expectations. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now, though, but they are 4-6 in the last 10 compared to their hot start that they got off to. They're now 8-6 overall. But I think that Josh Giddey has done exactly what we projected him to do.
Yeah, that was a great call. I agreed with you when you said it, and I think it's just a train right now that is not going to be derailed. He's been awesome. I would expect him to be an all-star. The Bulls have been good enough. He's been obviously the focal point there. So great take, Rylan. You've rebounded. I don't want to victory lap this, but I bought stock in the Raptors. And while I wouldn't have picked them to be as good as they have been, I do feel like my stock at least increased. I said that they played really good defense. I think that's especially come true in this win streak that they're on. They're the number 2 seed in the East right now. They play a fun brand of basketball. Brandon Ingram's been pretty solid. He's like the best offensive player they've had in some time. Scotty Barnes is probably going to get another all-star bid. So the Raptors are fun. Again, I don't want to take full credit for this because I would not have picked them to be the 2 seed, but I did say keep an eye on them in the preseason. And I think they've at least like doubled the stock that I did buy.
Yeah, I'll give you full credit under this pretense of like you were one of the few who had the Raptors making a postseason and buying stock into them. And they've set themselves up right now that if you were going to evaluate your portfolio and see which takes you needed to sell off, which takes you needed to disavow, and which takes you wanted to hold true, I'd be holding true to that Raptors postseason prediction because not only are they the 2 seed right now, which we don't expect to hold, and I think that even you as a Raptors guy don't expect them to be a top 4 seed in the East once it's all said and done. I also didn't expect them to plummet to like seed 11 or 12. So like they're going to be in the postseason as you predicted. So I'd give you full credit for that prediction coming true. I'm going to go with the Thunder one. I predicted Chet's offense will break out, and he's doing it in the exact ways that we expected him to. And I think that that's going to be killer for this team long-term in a good way of just like him elevating what this team's ceiling is on a team that won a championship last year. But, Shea talked about this in Sacramento a couple of nights ago. Like they did not win that championship in a way that they wanted to. Like they did not dominate the way that they did in the regular season. They did not play their best brand of basketball. Chet playing offense at this level will let them play their best brand of basketball come playoff time. He makes his team better come playoff time. And I think that so far I'm holding true to that prediction.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think just him getting back from injury and having a full off season again, it's just massive for him. Like, this is what almost everybody has expected him to be. He's just taken a couple detours in getting here. So it is nice to finally see him get to this point. I'll go one more before we get into the where we were wrong, which is not so fun a list, especially for me. I said Alperen Şengün would be a top 7 in MVP voting. That was like truly one of my boldest takes. As of right now, he is number 11 in odds. The Rockets are surging. He is averaging, let me pull it up, 23 points, 10 rebounds, 7.4 assists on some okay shooting splits. His defense has been good. And some of the guys above him on the list, I don't expect to hold there if they even get to the 65 win mark in Wemby, Steph Curry, a few others. So I'm not going to, again, not victory lapping here, but I feel good about that take. Even if it doesn't come true and he doesn't get into the top 7, Alperen Şengün is here to stay. He is one of the better players in this NBA, whether it's top 10, 15, 20, whatever you want to say. He is a ridiculously good basketball player, and the Rockets are real good.
Yeah, this does fall into like, if I had this pick, I would agree. I wouldn't be victory lapping yet. I wouldn't say I was right yet, but I also would not be selling off this take because it's still in that room of possibility to happen. And then I was right on the Kings sucking. This one only got pushed back a little bit of like, well, Sabonis raises the floor of teams. Well, the Kings are going to be like this veteran-laden team that could sneak into the play-in. No, guys, they suck, and they're 3-12, and I was right that they suck. But anyone with a brain should have known that they were going to suck. Now, let's get into the more fun part for the chat, where we were wrong. And I'm going to be hand up. I was wrong. I'm ready to completely disavow my take about the Washington Wizards. My Wizards, my lowly Wizards, 1-13, the worst team in the NBA. I thought that this young core was going to be scrappy. I thought that they were going to be fun. I thought that they'd be better than your Brooklyn Nets, which I'm not ready to get rid of that prediction yet. But I am ready to get rid of the prediction that I had, in which I said that they'd be competing for the play-in tournament. They will not be. They are awful. And this young team is awful. And they refuse to play their youngsters enough for my liking to let them get experience late in games. And they keep losing games late in games. They're on a 12-game losing streak. And then, of course, that means that they're 0-10 in their last 10. They have no juice to them when it comes to the postseason. However, they are still within a game of your Nets. So we still have that bet going to see who's going to be right or wrong.
Yeah, the bet was predicated on the fact that we thought that the Nets and the Wizards would be 2 of the 3 of the worst teams in the league. I just thought there was a sizable gap, as did you. I still would take that Wizards core over a lot of the other rebuilding cores, like at least 3 or 4, honestly. So not out on the Wizards from a future standpoint. I think we're seeing right now better than any other time that the Pistons were in this exact spot 2 years ago, and now they're number 1 in the East. So all it takes is a few good draft picks, a few good organizational decisions, and the right coach to get you on track. So I'm not out on the Wizards long-term. Love their pieces. Mine, we'll go Thunder first. I said Aaron Wiggins would be, this was a bold take. I said he would potentially be the 3rd leading scorer on this team. He is sitting pretty narrowly at 4th right now. I think he's had a great offensive season, but that is accounting for the AJ Mitchell leap. And that's also accounting for the fact that Jalen Williams, again, has not even played a game. So don't think this one's going to be happening. Again, it was a very bold prediction. This was kind of coming on the fact that like maybe Chet wouldn't take the leap or would just see an efficiency boost opposed to points per game. Maybe Jalen Williams would take more of a defensive backseat and slip a few, and then Aaron Wiggins would see some monster season and get to like 18. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So I've scrapped this already. I will throw this take away. Don't want it. I'm selling all the stock in it.
I want to tag team this one because we both have parts in it. I was bullish on the Mavericks. I said that they'd make the playoffs. Now, luckily for me, I said that they'd be in that contention for the 8th seed, which would give and I thought that their defense in that 8th seed could give the Thunder some trouble. And remember, folks, this has been misconstrued even by my good pal and everyone that we love, Chris Fisher, love him to death. He thought that I said something I didn't say. I said, of all the 8th seeds that the Thunder have played, remember they've swept the other 2 8th seeds. This Mavericks team would give them the most fits of any possible realistic 8th seed. And that got misconstrued even by my pals about this being a take about the Mavericks' long-term future, which is not true. However, they're not even going to be the 8th seed. They're not even going to make the playoffs. They're not even going to make the play-in tournament. Like, they're going to be awful. They're dreadful. And I was wrong. You had them as a home court advantage team there.
Well.
I'm going to deflect to you.
Let me say my piece first. On the bold prediction episode, I said maybe they could grab home court because this was, again, fresh off that preseason game. They looked real good.
They look good in Dickies Arena. Maybe they should relocate to Dickies Arena.
Exactly. You play all your games in Fort Worth, and who knows? This was on the bold predictions episode. Later, though, I did pick them as the 7 seed. So regardless, I picked them as a postseason team. Again, that is wrong. But there is a video clip of me out there somewhere saying the Mavericks could get home court, which is just an abysmal take in and of itself.
It's a shame that they're finally going with the green jerseys, green court. I love Mavericks green. I love everything that they do with their green. And it's a shame. I mean, to their credit, though, perhaps they're paying homage because the teams that wore green sucked. So maybe they're paying homage to their old franchise's history. Anyhow, Derek, this again, we had the spectrum of where we were right. This is a spectrum of where we were wrong. I'm not ready to completely disband myself from the Orlando Magic, but I am concerned. I had the Magic as a lock for a top 4 seed. Now, I did have the Hawks above them at 3, which at the time people thought was a little bit of a shuffle because most people had the Hawks behind the Magic. The Hawks are ahead of the Magic right now, but they're only at 5. But the Magic are at 10. And I thought that we all had the blueprint of what the East would be at home court. It'd be the Cavs, it'd be the Knicks, it would be the Magic and Heat. The Magic and Hawks somewhere flip-flopped 3 and 4. I had a Hawks at 3, Magic at 4. The Magic are 10th. The Magic are 10th in the East, and they're only 1 game above 500. Now, they are 7-3 in their last 10, and they are playing much better defense now than they had before and getting back to their level of elite defensiveness. Now, I'm failing on the Orlando Magic. I'm not gonna be completely out. I'm not gonna sell the take completely. I am monitoring myself for perhaps I was wrong on this one.
Yeah, this feels like a never wrong, just early thing for us. I think eventually this iteration of the Magic are going to be really, really good. Now they've dug themselves a hole this season, so it might not come to fruition as like a 3 or 4 seed this year, but maybe next year. I'll probably throw out the same take again. So they have not been impressive so far, but I expect them to win basketball games eventually. I think they've been good more recently. This is one I think we both had, and this is one everybody had. I believe he was the odds-on favorite for this, but Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of people picked Victor Wembanyama. I still think if he plays the games, he will win it. I don't think he's going to play the games. He's already out now for several weeks. I don't know how often he's going to get to that 65-win mark. And I'm not saying he's an injury-prone guy, but just the way the modern NBA is, it's going to be tough for him and the way he plays to hit those marks. So Defensive Player of the Year, you might already be looking at other players for this award because, again, if he's on court, the 3.6, 3.8 blocks and steals, all that's great, and he can absolutely win it, but he's already set to miss another stretch of games. I would imagine this happens later in the year at some point, whether it's another tweak or they just want to start resting him because they do look like a postseason team. So just not one I'm feeling great about at the moment.
Yeah, this is something that the league is going to have to change. It's just one of these situations where the voters, if you look at the history of the NBA and the history of how they voted on awards, they had already punished guys for missing games by themselves without needing a strict guideline of doing so. And I trust them to continue to do that if you were to alleviate these restrictions. And there's a difference to me of not hitting 65 games or not playing enough games because you just simply don't want to. You don't want to play back-to-backs. You don't want to play tough stretches. You want to sit out too much. And then you make yourself less impactful versus actually getting hurt, which Wembanyama is actually hurt, and the Spurs are protecting him from himself. They're protecting their investment into their franchise. They're protecting their long-term stability of a guy who, if you sit out these 3 weeks, these 4 weeks, whatever it ends up being, and it gets you healthy for a postseason run, and we have you in April and not now, and you happen to miss out on awards, sorry, but you're going to have to do that because we are going to need you in April if you're the Spurs. And the voters were always conscious of this, and they were always able to purse through this on their own. And the fact that you've put this 65 game mark on them is kind of strange. And I think that it could end up really altering Wemby's career if they don't change this, in the sense of everyone who watched him will be in awe of him, will be forever talking about him. But you think about generations from now, if you were just to go back and look at his basketball reference page and he has one season of awards, it wasn't because he wasn't any good. It was because of the stupid 65 game rule. And so you won't be able to arm yourself with like, hey, this guy was a X-time all-star, X-time all defensive player, X-time defensive player of the year. Like, we won't have that because like, oh, well, sorry, he missed 3 weeks of the season because of a true injury. That's different than like the whole load management thing that they were trying to curb. But, and that's another thing I don't like. You're trying to curb load management with this 65 game rule. Nobody load managed 15 times a year. Like nobody load managed to the point where it gets you to 65. So it really doesn't even protect anything except for hurt actual injuries for guys. Now let's do this one together because we both had variations of it. I faded the Pistons. I didn't even have them in my top 4. I didn't even consider them for my top 4 of the East. And I had them at like 6 even, or maybe they could bump to 5 and improve in that way. And some people were really high on the Pistons. I wasn't preseason. They're sitting at number 1 and sitting at number 1 with a 13-2 record, which, by the way, they've done an 11-game winning streak, 10-0 in their last 10 games. And they've done so shorthandedly. Like, this team is really, really good. And I think that they're going to be a home court advantage team, and it's going to bump somebody out that I had up there, and they're going to prove me wrong.
I totally agree. I even said 2 weeks ago that they were sitting at number 1, and I was like, I don't know if they can keep it. I feel like they could maybe be 3 with their fresh legs. They play a good brand of basketball. Even then, I was like, I don't know if they can keep number 1. It's pretty apparent that they can. Jalen Duren's been awesome. Cade Cunningham is exactly what we thought he could be both 5 years ago and coming into this season. Danish Jenkins, shout out him. He's been unbelievable. I think averaging somewhere in the realm of like 6.5 assists off the bench and a ton of points. So real fun Piston squad. And I hope they do get the 1 seed because, again, this is a team that merely 2 years ago saw one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history. Their fans have been going through it with this rebuild and all the picks. So shout out to them. They've played awesome.
Yeah, and their fans are ready to explode with like a great home court advantage, a great fan base around this team. So having home court in a playoff series or multiple, if they can hold on to the 1 seed, that'll be a lot of fun. But Derek, let's tee some people up. Who gets a technical foul?
My technical foul of the day goes to the 6'7" trend. That's a technical foul. There is an AP article. Reaching 67 points is creating a 6'7" frenzy at college basketball games. Rylan, you and I saw this at the Blue game, the first home Blue game of the year. I don't know if this makes me unk. I don't know if saying unk makes me unk. But this is crazy. It won word of the year. Yeah, newsflash, folks. 6'7" is not a word. These are numbers. These are digits. And my fiance just yesterday heard from another child that there's new iterations of this. They're like, have you heard of 81? Have you? Yeah, yes. These other ones. Yeah. What are we doing? What is going on? I don't get it. It's unbelievable. That's a technical foul.
I've tried to defend the youth. I've had a lot of people, elder statesmen that I am in contact with a lot, ask me about 6'7". And I tried to deflect and say, you know what? Whenever we were kids, we had stupid stuff too. Like 1738, that was stupid. I don't even know what that meant. The 21, that was stupid. I mean, it's some TikTok trend. Like, it was just dumb. But this has taken on a life beyond what even we had in our day. So I agree with the teeing up. And it's so performative to like have this be the word of the year. Give me a break. How about you find a real word, Webster or whoever gives out word of the year. My technical foul. Derek, my technical foul is going to go to Starbucks on Monday.
That's a technical foul.
Starbucks on Monday. I ordered a peppermint mocha, and they came back on the screen and said, you know what? We're out of peppermint. How are you out of peppermint? It's the holiday season. You only have this drink 2 months a year, and you're out of peppermint. That's brutal. So
that's a technical foul.
Starbucks. Derek, another fun edition of Locked On Thunder Live. Any parting words of wisdom that you want to leave us with?
No, I don't think so. I think
thank you for that.
Had I thought up 6 or 7 words to say, I would have them, but I don't. So I'll leave you with that.
Well, there it is. We'll see you Monday at 2 p.m. Central here on Locked On Thunder Live. We also have our Locked On Thunder Squad show at 3:30 with Jeremy Lamb. Go check that out right now. And then, of course, it's Locked On Thunder Monday through Friday and after every single game. So until next time, be good and be good to one another.